Hi, good day. My name's Ray. This is Life and Vibe. It's my commentary channel, and today I decided to join in on the conversation that has been happening on YouTube, Reddit, various forms of social media that have been involving Dave Hollis and Heidi Powell. And it's like, where did this person come from, and why are they feeling that they want to comment on this and join into this conversation? A lot of it is to do with that I am a healthcare professional. I am a registered nurse. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Nursing here in the United States, and I am always very concerned when you have people that are doing health and fitness promotion and their licensure in that area is maybe not in that space. And so you have people hoping to make, a good deal of money off of helping people through their health and fitness journey, and they have no promotion about talking about seeing any type of healthcare professional or anything of that nature. And so I feel that, these are two individuals who are adults who are definitely making the most of the American way. I certainly remember Heidi Powell when she was married to her second husband, Chris Powell, and had she suddenly appeared on his show Extreme Weight Loss, I believe is what it was called. It was not really a show that I watched religiously, but I do remember watching some episodes of it because those types of shows were quite popular in that time period. And I do remember thinking, oh wow, she's, that's the way to do it, have a relationship with somebody who has a TV show, and now you suddenly are part of the TV show. So, I mean, they seemed very suited to one another. Obviously, I wasn't in their relationship, but then I always question people who sell supplements like they do with their products. So that to me is not nutrition, that's not fitness, that's not health. And so that's why I question. I think there's always a lot of cash grab. There's not a lot of money in an apple. There's a lot more money in a nutrition supplement that you can hawk and have somebody drink. But anyway, it's a big day for Dave and Heidi. Reason being is that Dave released a bonus podcast episode on his Rise Together podcast, and it was finishing and continuing the conversation that he had been having with Heidi, and so that's always great juicy gossip, and that's part of the reason I'm here, is because I'm just in love with the gossip and I wanted to gossip. I watch a lot of these different channels and I'm like, I'm an older voice in this, so I've seen it and certainly think that there are a lot of people who are in my age group who are definitely the targets for this type of stuff. One, because they have often the disposable income, and secondly, they're often feeling like you're staring, death in the face at this age. So that's part of it. And then, so not to ruin it, so Dave had his bonus podcast sent out today. And then second, the other big thing was that Heidi has released her 60-day Get Fit challenge, and that started today with a week-long pre-party just kicking off. And there's some interesting aspects about this particular program this time. One, we know Heidi was ill prepared for its release. Her Instagrams had implicated that she had a lot of filming to do. and she was needing to get going with that. So it didn't seem as if Heidi really knew where this course was going to be taking. I mean, I would think if you have a course which you are, you know, claiming is tailored to multiple different levels of fitness, you would have been planning this some time ago. I feel this has been rushed out quite quickly, and therefore I would be concerned about the safety of some of the program for the participants. And it's not inexpensive, and I think a lot of this, you could literally put this program together online yourself from a YouTube search and cover all of it and do it for free. And if you feel the need to get somebody texting you, you know, you're doing great, you know, why don't you just set up some type of account that does that? I'm sure there's an app. I'm sure there is absolutely an app that ensures that you would be able to have a motivational message sent to your phone and save you a ton of money than having spent on this. And then you would actually have the money to go see your doctor to get an actual health profile and get your lab work taken and really be able to see what your fitness and how healthy are you. Because as my hematologist, oncologist I worked for used to always say, you never really can tell what's going on until you pulled the lab work, which is why doctors are always crazy about getting labs, because it tells you a lot about how somebody is body is functioning and whether it's in the right hemostasis and within the defined limits of what it should be. Is it being normal? And it always makes me not happy to see people promoting something when it is not being also, you know, the information is not stating we want you to get in touch with a healthcare professional. That said, there's a lot of Dave's disjointed thoughts talking about what this episode is about, and there is also a little bit of information again, obviously, about Heidi's program. And I want to keep saying Heidi's program because that's important. So anyway, I don't want to keep blabbing on. I just want to get in here and start talking about this thing. It's a 37-minute episode. I'm hoping I don't stop it too much, but I do obviously want to state this is fair use. This is just my opinion. I am not giving any professional opinion here, even though I am licensed as an RN to give some information about health. So, just quickly to capture what is being said here, it says, today's bonus episode is a continuation of last week's conversation between Heidi and Dave, where the end of their conversation was interrupted by the urgency to get to an airport, which was one of multiple airports that they had urgency to get to. This last piece felt important enough to drop it into the feed this week to finish the thought. There's something as humans that ends up happening when we venture into a new space where something in the environment is different than it was before. That self-doubt, the negative voices that live inside of us start chirping as we get closer to the event. Sometimes outside voices join the chorus and have us start operating in ways that are totally disconnected from how we'd normally hope to approach that new level. Hopefully you find this episode helpful or at least a little bit interesting. Enjoy. I'm actually quite confused by what was said. And I was a literature major at school. It said this last piece felt important enough to drop in. Okay, well, there's something between these two, and obviously we want to hear that. We don't want to hear me on, but just the prose that Dave chooses to use is always interesting. And so he's very florid when he speaks. So, as I said, let's just get into this. Let's just get into the episode, shall we? Let's just go. And I apologize for the filming. I was not able to put my microphone into my computer and hear the podcast going at the same time. And so we're just going to throw it all together. And the sound is probably going to be terrible. There was probably jet noise and dog noise and my landscapers in the condo association and everybody just going off. So anyway, let's just go. Let's go.
Hello Rise Together fam, Dave here. I hope y'all had a nice weekend. We are on a Monday with a bonus episode coming off of Mother's Day. Hope all the moms out there had themselves a fantastic day yesterday. This is a pickup, a continuation of last week's conversation between myself and Heidi Powell, where the end of our conversation was interrupted by the urgency to get to an airport. And this little last piece felt important enough for us to drop it into the feed this week to finish the thought. There's something as humans that ends up happening, I know this firsthand, when we venture into a new space where something in the environment is different than it was before, it's at a new level, it's a more audacious big goal that we have set, and now as we're approaching it but don't necessarily have the footing for never having walked the terrain, that self-doubt, the negative voices that live inside of us, they start chirping as we get closer to the event. And sometimes outside voices join that chorus and have us start operating in ways that are totally disconnected from how we normally hope to approach that new level. The upcoming challenge,
So, I really have no idea what he's really trying to say in such a convoluted way. I think he was just trying to give a prelude to what this conversation in this podcast will be about. I think he's trying to set the scene that something has changed about this particular 60-day Get Fit Challenge, Get Fit 60-day challenge compared to the previous one, and maybe his role in it. I do have a lot of concerns between, I don't know them personally, but any couple who are promoting the type of relationship that they have that has seemingly gone from 0 to 60 in an extremely fast period of time, to where they are meshing businesses and just kind of both being in a very codependent. I think they both were very nervous about how they were going to start making money, and I think they felt that merging together as a team and going through it together as a team would be a lot less daunting than if they were doing this singularly. I know that Heidi is definitely appears to be, and I don't know these people, I'm just saying how they appear, and why I would be concerned to get any type of self-help or advice from them, to be very codependent on others in order to function and do other things work-wise and relationship. Dave is definitely one of these men that I feel that he's been so long in a relationship and having a female partner, it would be very strange for him not to have that person in his life anymore, that female presence. And I think for Heidi, she has always developed over the last however many decades that I've known. It's been well over 10 years that she has had a partner who has merged their lives and their businesses together, and kind of their lives have become their business. I mean, to make the type of money and impact that she has made as a fitness instructor is incredible. They often struggle with just running the gyms because it's a great idea, but at the end of the day, I think the revenues can be difficult, and I think it's not as much money as people think when you become a personal trainer. There's very few who are going to be a celebrity personal trainer and famous. That is always the American dream, isn't it? To be the one that, you know, is recognized and becomes the most famous for this. So I feel that you know, I'm curious to hear what's said. I haven't heard this podcast. This is me reacting to a first time listening. I'm going to apologize. The wind is wild out here. And like I said, I don't have my mic set up. I can't really use it, the podcast, and my thing is just, it's not wanting to behave. I had to laugh though at this one thing that he said, that self-doubt, the negative voices that live inside of us start chirping as we get closer to the event. The event, I don't know if they're talking about that Get Fit 60-day challenge. Chirping is not something that I would think as a negative word to use in this sentence. I would definitely want to use something more like nagging as we get closer. Chirping is, I would think, is, you know, a descriptive, that would be more for happy, like bird sounds, not nagging negative anyway. That's just me. Okay, so let's get back to the Dave, shall we?
It's one that starts today, actually. Was a thing a week and a half ago that Heidi was having some of these feelings around, in that the last couple of challenges were something that we did jointly, and in an environment where some of the circumstances have changed. She's leading out on this more than we are doing it together. She doesn't have me as support in social media the way that I might have been before. Some of the voices, the insecurities that come in doing things on your own or stepping into new spaces, we're starting to create something of anxiety, of panic, of trying to force rather than flow. And so we had a really interesting back and forth a week and a half ago, some of which is captured in the voice memos that we were actually sending then in today's episode, to just give you a sense of how my observations of my own reaction to stepping into something that was different in the release of my last book result.
He tends to continue talking, and I'm trying to continue listening and also get the thought. And sorry, I'm gonna get a pad of paper just in case. My dog is over here snoring, and so that's what you may be hearing over here too, apart from the wind and the terrible recording of Dave. And I apologize again for this awful recording and the tinny sound of my computer. So that is interesting. Dave has stepped back from his role in the Get Fit 60-day challenge, which seems apropos because he has little to no experience being a fitness instructor. And so I'm sure he's been receiving a fair amount of criticism across social media about why would somebody with little to no fitness experience be out there running this type of 60-day. I mean, it could be good in the respect if he was being used as an example of somebody getting fit after his experience that we know he's recently been in rehab. So, I mean, in that respect, that would be great. But to sort of say he's leading something else, I just don't know if that would be appropriate. And I'm sure Heidi has a lot of anxiety. This is a woman who does not get a passport ready in time for her own birthday holiday. So, and how she didn't notice, I'm surprised nobody mentioned anything when she was at the passport desk when she was traveling previously. That is usually said, like, your passport will be expiring in 6 months. Were you aware of that? And so that went obviously over her head and was never addressed. And so her entire birthday plans were, scuppered because she could not get to Mexico because she did not have a valid passport. And I have had times when my passport has been cutting it close. I won't lie. And I had a lot also going on at the time. So I think you have to balance in life, how much can you really take on? Should you be trying to get out multiple fitness programs where you have not a backlog of recorded material? It's not a course that you have been, putting out. The people are continuing, so you're having to create new material rather than, maybe have as many new participants. It seems like it's a continuation from the previous challenge. And so I believe the need for more and more new material is probably there. And I can imagine it is a lot of work. 60 days trying to put together fitness, nutrition. I mean, what else have they mentioned in here that she has stated is part of the program? Dancing, breath work, and more is a lot to do, because I find just trying to take care of cooking and take care of my health and just trying to find time to sit down and record this today has been extremely tiring, and it takes a lot of time. And I think it's great to encourage people to be cooking more at home. I think that's a lot to bring into that Get Fit 60-day challenge. It's a lot. I think they want to bring in a lot because it's not an inexpensive program. I think a lot of fitness programs are, a lot of people anticipate that there's going to be a nutrition piece with it. So I'm sure Heidi is like, I have not seen her Instagram. I should take a look. I'm sure it's wild. I'm sure it's wild today. I'm sure she is like, I wonder if she did a live on top of everything.
In less than ideal behavior for me, and how maybe some of those observations could keep her from falling into that same trap. So I hope that you enjoy. It's going to be a good Monday. Let's get to the episode. Last episode in the feed of this, the Rise Together podcast, we were about to jump into a thought that felt unfinished, but also we ran out of time. I had to run to the airport, had some meetings in LA this week, and then made my way over here to Arizona, where we were finishing up some of the fun for this, the launch of the next challenge. But it was, in fact, a conversation about the challenge and the way that you were having a response to some of the pressure of doing something again, and the expectation that had been placed on this thing that you care so passionately about, that had you having something of an interesting reaction that brought me back to the crazy reaction that I had during the launch of my book. And it provoked what I thought was a really great in real time conversation that, because we thought it might actually make a good conversation on the show, we said, hold on, let's not dive too deeply into this. Let's actually save a little bit of it so that we can, in real time, unpack. Are you doing okay? I think you're crushing it, but I'm also sure that at a certain point it feels a little exhausting. Just checking on you. Keep telling me if there's anything I can do to make it easier, or if you need anything, okay? I love you. You're doing great.
You guys, the before I go on to this next thing, can we just acknowledge this is how he is? I didn't even know I was, and to that I replied, I said, it is exhausting. I said, I feel like I'm working really hard to get every single person into this community to see how amazing it is.
Yeah.
I always, I don't want to ever belittle what somebody is doing for work, but I have, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to come in and have a conversation in this space, because I'm somebody who has been working for many, many years and have had a career as a public speaker. This is my dog. You can hear snoring, Junebug. I know you can hear her. As a public speaker for a publishing house, as an educator, I was a school teacher, and for the last 8 years I've been, as I mentioned, a registered nurse, and I work 12-hour inpatient shifts, and some of my shifts have gone very long. So it is with mixed emotions when I hear her, and I don't want to think that she hasn't been working hard. It's a lot. That's a lot to put together, and it's I mean, for all the cost of managing the website and putting it up online, you would have to employ a lot of people into this to create this. And so I think that there was not enough pre-preparing time for her to be prepared for this release again. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure because you have a product you have to deliver. If you don't, you're going to be having people ask for a refund. And if this is how you're earning your keep, then you're going to want to make sure it goes well. I would almost think she would be more successful working as a fitness instructor locally. She probably would get a lot of people wanting to hire her. But I think she really wants to become much more of a national recognized fitness influencer. And so she's really determined to do these challenges. And I think it's just a lot of work. I think she underestimated how much work it was going to be. I think she really did. That's what I'm thinking. This is from a woman who could not get her passport on time for her birthday celebration. While she's trying to do this fitness challenge, her priorities are wackadoodled. That's all I'm going to say. I want to be fair, and I also want to be my usual acerbic self, because some of this is just, I'm slightly older now, and it's a lot of privilege in how disorganized they are, and just the way they think that their disorganized selves have a way to influence the rest of us. I think she should stick with what she's good at, which is obviously teaching fitness. Whether she is ready to create a full brand from it alone, I am doubtful. I know she was part of a TV show and so forth, but how much of that is really, managed by a production team, and she just really had to show up for the filming. I think this is a lot more than she anticipated. I think she thought she could offload a lot more to Dave Hollis too, and Dave has had his own personal issues that he is working his way through and does not have time for this shenanigans created by Heidi, who wants a couple brand again.
And then you said,
the thing is, I think I felt a little bit of this craziness in the launch of that last book, where me, ultimately resorting to pleading with people to buy the book was because of how much it felt like I was working for every single book, but had to get 1,000, 10,000 no's for every single sale, and it was just like, oh, God, that's exhausting. I'm sorry, babe, hang in there. There's so much to be proud of in this. Yeah.
I think he thought he could just release a book, and because he released a book, like so many of these self-help gurus, it would just have a huge number of people buy it, because so many people buy this self-help crap, and I'm just going to call that. You want to come back up here? My dog wants to be back up here. I'm going to try to bring this closer. Goodness me, I want to try to get this going because I feel like I could be here forever, but they're talking about pressure. Pressure is like going through medical school, or pressure is when somebody's respiratory rate is going up into the 40s and their blood pressure is going out the roof or dropping, or, you know, some critical shit happening. That's pressure. I mean, I understand you need to deliver a product. I get it. Okay, let's get back to it, because I had the Dave's book launch. I mean, I feel sad that it was not the New York Times bestseller that he hoped it to be. The man has no nautical experience, and he used nautical metaphors throughout. So that was already, you know, not good. He should have stuck to what he is. You know, it's very hard to sell a book that, you know, isn't really built through courage. It's built through privilege, and that's not what he used as the title of the book. And that would have been much more truthful. And if you were just truthful, maybe it would have sold many more copies. Because built through privilege would be what people want. You're supposed to be aspirational, Dave. And Heidi, that's what you're selling to everybody, is aspiration. I think that's what they have mistaken in what they are actually, you know, providing. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if I'm in a good place or not. So anyway, let's get back to listening to Dave and The Wind.
Just doing such a great job. The team is doing such a great job.
You know what's crazy is, yeah, it actually does remind me, like now that I go back and track through, and I know you said it the other day, but it didn't really stop to think about it. But yeah, from you like, okay, wait, what? This book tour is not the same? Let me go create my own. Let me go this. Let me go, you know, and it's like a, yeah. And I can actually feel it on social, right? Like my, like, pleading, like forcing, like shoving down people's throats for something that I know is so great. And I think you probably felt the same way. Like, you know, it's so great.
So this is interesting that she is talking about shoving this program down people's throats the way that he was shoving the book down people's throats, as everybody remembers from the infamous Patio of Peace episode that we all watched with huge embarrassment for this man. I mean, any sane grown adult was like, what is he doing out and just letting... I mean, this is what is so, I think, difficult with social media. You, especially if you've been a lifestyle blogger like Dave has been, and Heidi is somewhat too. Though she's more obviously of a fitness blogger, is that I believe that there was this mistaken idea that you could just turn anything out and the masses will just eat it up and buy it, as if there is just this non-stop ability to pay for books, courses, and so forth. I'm sorry to alter my camera there, and I apologize for that. I would always say, go to your library and recommend to have these books. Listen to this free podcast. You're going to learn absolutely nothing except for these people's lives are as disorganized, as messy as your own. So I just think that, and just the word shoving it, like how many live Instagram feeds has Heidi been produced? I don't watch for her that much because I'm doing a lot of other things in the day. And I'm certainly not scrolling a heck of a lot of these things. But I just think it's such a dangerous space to get into. And I find it fascinating to watch people really try to turn a buck in these type of industries. And when they're not making the easy money they thought they could make, the sort of panic that ensues because they're used to living a very high standard of living that is very expensive in this country. This is not your average average standard of living, as much as they want to be relating to the masses because they need to sell to the masses. Really, they're trying to sell an aspirational lifestyle. And if they aren't being the aspiration, like they're not making the massive book sales, they don't have hundreds of people participating in their fitness course, then there's little for these people to aspire to. And I think this is where the panic, and you know, I don't know how great your course can be, Heidi. You have no medical professionals, and I really don't know what expertise you have in any of these areas. So you also may have to hire people to do some of this other stuff, and they have salaries that need to be paid. I don't know if they're getting a percentage of the ticket sales. I don't know how you've worked out how you're paying for any professionals that are also, I can't imagine it's cheap. I just, you know, and maybe it was a little ambitious. Let's continue.
Honest to goodness, no, it's because like I just said in that thing, I know how great what we built is. I know we took something that was great and we made it even better. And I know that the results were better and people were happier. And I know this third round, people, like, it's even greater. And, you know, probably unfair to compare, I was feeling really, there was hardship in knowing that I am pushing this alone, right? So the last two times, Dave, you and I both were promoting and we were talking about it, and so people came in easier. And we have such a wonderful group. Like, the thing is, the group is what it's supposed to be, but I remember that day, this was, you know, the Saturday before pre-launch week, so a week and a half ago today. And it just felt like nobody wanted to hear. And the reality is, that's not the truth, right? But because I love what I'm doing so much, and I love that everybody loves it inside of the community, I couldn't wrap my head around why is not everyone doing this, you know? And is something wrong with me? Because when I had you there, people came in easier. And here's the thing, we have a great crowd. And also, the last round, it was January 1st. And also, we were actually on track that day to match the same numbers, but there was something in my head still telling me that nothing would, I don't know that there would have been a number that would have been enough, right? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was almost like I had already pre-decided that I am not enough, and the number of people we have is not enough, and not enough people are seeing this good, and I'm not going to do enough good for the world. Like,
okay, so this is interesting. So obviously she had some concerns that after even, you know, obviously any business, you want to see growth from it. Now, she is correct in mentioning the first of the year and how that is a big time of year for people to start a fitness challenge and to want to get out there and work out and so forth. And she's saying that she's getting the same numbers that she had from the last fitness challenge. And I don't know if she ever really said what the numbers were in that previous challenge. I don't know if she ever released the numbers. And I don't know if she was nervous. It was a lot of very interesting things that she said there with deep subtext about feeling worthy. It gave a little bit about that codependency that she seems to be having with Dave and the validation that she needs to get from being in a couple and doing things in a couple. I don't know whether I'm sure she's nervous about whether it's going to be successful or not. Because it's a business and she needs to turn a profit. You can't just keep doing it. And she says about changing the world. I don't want to ever belittle what someone does for their living. Absolutely not. I certainly don't want to do that. I do think that having people help people focus on their health, their nutrition and so forth is a worthy thing. But she's not a doctor, she's not a scientist, she's not saving lives in that respect. And so I think she needs to put that into some type of perspective, and about saving the world. I think she wants a bigger following. I think she wants, obviously, a lot more people in this challenge. I think her price point is high. I think if she tried to change, gave less variety of things and focused at what she just does and sold just that, then she probably have more success than these 60-day challenge type things. I don't know if that's really, what people want in the workout space. So I think she's still I think it's kind of an old school program that she's selling, and I think that's why it's not working. I think she needs, to look at what she's offering. I think people want to do quick apps. They want to go on YouTube. I think you can find a lot of this stuff for free online and follow it online. And so you're going to have to really come up with something special to take that much money away to pay for something.
Just so much self-doubt around what I'm capable of doing alone.
Yeah. Well, by the way, because this was the essence of my insecurity. Because, and I didn't see it at the time, I completely see it now. My breakdown, my love for this book was completely demolished because I lost myself in the worry that now that I was releasing something outside of a marriage with someone who also was successful as a writer, outside of the Hollis company that had a bunch of marketing and whatever else, outside of, what previously was a thing, and then in the aftermath was something completely different, that I'd be revealed as not being qualified or not being good or not being whatever. And it was the only voice I could hear, and in that fear, in that insecurity, I operated as a crazy person.
I think he had a lot of reasons to have those fears. This is a very honest conversation coming from Dave, and I can appreciate his frankness here. And I think he has had an ability to spend some time doing some self-reflection, and I think that is good. I don't know whether this is something that's needed in this space. Are we just is it going to be money made from just gossip because we are interested in the train wreck that is Dave and Heidi at the moment? Because they're kind of a train wreck, the two of them. And like any good reality show, part of what is appealing is the train wreck. And this is not scripted. I think this is why this is so much more appealing than watching even The Real Housewives or anything on TV, because most of the time we know those are scripted, whereas this is true life drama happening as we watch it and watch it unfold and listen to it unfold. And Dave is being really honest here, and I appreciate that.
Now that we know this, and now that you've been through it, and I don't want to make the same mistake you did, right? As an outsider, what advice do you have for me? What would you do now that you've been through what you have been, and where should I let go?
More than anything, I wish I would have just stopped to appreciate all the good that already existed. The thing that I had said in the freaking book was, if you just change one life, you've changed the world. And I kept losing track of how important it was.
I think they are just really far too focused on this, self-help guru type idea that they really want to be part of that space because it's extremely lucrative. There is an extremely big pot of money to be made, and we are at times of great uncertainty at the moment, and people are definitely going to be looking at themselves and reflecting on where they are in their lives, what have they brought to the world, what have they contributed, is it enough, is there more that they can contribute. And these are people who are around what they would consider to be high achieving people who make very high incomes and so forth. So I feel like I'm like sinking into my couch here. Very high incomes, and they have high expectations of their performance. And they really, I don't know how much they've really had to be challenged over the years. Dave got into the space, really, he just mentioned it off of what success his wife had. Her having been in that space. And I mean, I feel like it was a combination of the two, because I feel that she's never really spoken as to how she was so able to get that book published. I mean, she'd already had some books published, but I'm sure that they had access to maybe people who were more in that space since he was already in the entertainment field. They would certainly be socializing and being part of people in the media industry, which is just going to give you access to people who are going to see your material and so forth. It just gives you an opportunity that probably a lot of other people would not be able to have. I have seen that in real life, and it certainly does exist. And Heidi, how Chris was able to get onto his TV show, I'm not sure. But obviously at that time she was dating him. I don't know if they started dating at the start of his TV show. Were they already dating? How was she able to get into the show? I'm really not sure. But anyway, she was able to join into that. And so I think some things came very easily to them. And now they are a little older. And that can be a struggle when you're in the media industry. I can let you know that. Certainly is a youth-centered culture, as we know. And so they are in the wild world of self-help and fitness influencers and all of this, and hoping that they too can get an audience together and become popular, because isn't that what everybody wants?
That I was actually selling a book at all, or that I was actually meeting a person at all. And so, I mean, like, there's so much good in the community right now. So much.
And I don't mean to stop, but I don't think that he majored in English lit or anything. So it would be nice if some of these folks authoring books maybe had studied the craft of writing and literature, but you know, why not? You can just use nautical metaphors in a book and hope it sells.
That one of the things I think I would do is just force yourself to be in there for 30 minutes, or even when you start to feel overwhelmed, the immediate thing that you go to is the page, just to see all the good that already exists, because it's just like, there is so much good. Every single part of my darkness around the book was connected to comparison. Either this inflated expectation that I'd set for myself, this ambitious, we're going to do more than that last book kind of thing I was reaching for, that was not connected to literally anything other than ego and blind optimism. You know, like I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I'd set this goal. Or, in like the worst case of it all, I was comparing myself to a writer that was married at the time, to a big writer, and the benefit that came from her platform, and me now. Right? Like, if I just stayed connected to, I'm me, and my world is different, and life is different, and so this will likely be a different release, but did I put everything into it? Of course. Am I proud of it? Oh, I'm so proud of it. Well, then I have to release this thing that I've created as creator into the world, and just be at peace with it finding whatever the audience that was meant to have it have it. And it's easier said than done because I did the exact opposite. I was only comparing myself to being on the list versus not, to a certain number of pre-ordered.
I feel sad that he didn't get the audience he wanted for a book that he felt that he had poured his heart into. Whether it's a book that needed to be written, we're not sure. Probably not, because I don't know. I really feel that self-help is just some dodgy stuff. I just think that it has one of those quick fix feelings. It has a way of being entertaining when you read it, and then you feel a little bit inspired, and then afterwards you hope that these great changes will happen, and that is not going to happen from reading a self-help book. If you've ever listened to or read anything about these people who sell self-help there goes my camera again, I apologize, sell these self-help courses, and I was reading one about somebody who does life coaching, which was quite interesting, that they read hundreds of these books, and they acquire all this knowledge of self-help language and idioms and phrases and catchphrases and just the sort of language that is in it, and they just all repeat themselves, and I think these people then regurgitate it out to other people as wisdom and knowledge. And there have been a few people that have been successful in this space, and they have always started out as some type of writer or fiction writer, and they have then wanted to let people know these pearls of wisdom that they have, that they are going to share, that is going to suddenly just put everybody's life right. It's like, shit, now you're gonna wake up in the morning and the bills are paid, the husband is behaving, the kids are helping with the house chores and errands, the dogs are not needing to be walked, they're all self-sufficient. It's the answer, it's the miracle. Life and the drudgery and the boredom that is life has now evaporated away. Your life has purpose and meaning, and it's just a party every fucking day. Pardon my French. Is that need a beep beep? I think I'm far enough in, but it isn't like that. Life is much harder. It's a lot more humdrum and boring, and it's also, you can wake up and feel pretty content too if you're not having crazy expectations of New York Times best-selling books, even though you have never studied literature, or you're going to be suddenly the biggest fitness influencer in America, even though the show that you were on was a long time ago. So it's been a long time, I think, since Heidi Powell has been seen on television. So she's kind of trying to revamp that star, and there's an audience out there, but I don't know if she's connecting with them. Some of these people are so far removed from what a lot of people's reality is. I don't know if they can, if they're able to connect with a normal person like me. That was me talking almost as much as Dave. I apologize.
To less, and it ruined the entire thing. There's something weird in human nature that has this impulse to compare, or this impulse to set higher than our reasonable expectations, that completely rob something that is otherwise fantastic from being a thing that we can totally appreciate. And there are so many things that I wrote in the book that I was so freaking proud of that were all about not falling into this very trap. I fell into it anyway. I fell into it anyway because I'm human. And the whole point of like wanting to like bring this into a conversation today is that like someone somewhere is going to set for themselves a big goal, and they get close to that big goal, and because as they approach it, and it being a space that they maybe haven't created in before, or a threshold that they haven't set as a bar to try and achieve against before, that insecure voice will start to whisper, and it becomes louder and louder, and it has the risk of snatching every single bit of good from the thing that you've created if you allow that lie to live. And that lie for me was that I was only good then because of my proximity to Rachel, or because of the ecosystem inside of which I was creating from, and that's ridiculous.
I don't know whether he should worry about his proximity to Rachel, because Rachel, I don't know if her book, when she last released it, the one that came out during her divorce, I didn't see that coming, I think was the book. I don't know how successful that book was either. I don't think it was considered to be released at a very appropriate time, and she also had her own faux pas on TikTok that she has not, I think, got as much success as he's perceiving. I don't know. I don't think she's getting as many views on her channel or her podcast as she had been. So I think both of them separate have not done as well as they thought they could. I don't know where they thought they could pivot to. I think Dave thought he might be able to pivot into sort of a male self-help space, but he was a marriage guy, and he just was not fitting well into the bro culture. And so that male kind of conference that he wanted to hold was a complete failure, unless you're basically selling a way to make huge amounts of money by scamming people out of their money. You're not going to work in the bro space. I mean, that's kind of what they are all about, is just like making stupid amounts of money just selling shit to people. I mean, so that was, you know, this kind of kumbaya male bro space thing was just not gonna fly that way. So I really don't know how successful Rachel has been post Dave. I think they have both had a struggle, and I think they were a brand. That's what I think the two of them have to understand, that her brand was being Mrs. Hollis, I hate to say it, and his brand was being Mr. Hollis, and they that was their brand, and so they did a really bad job in the divorce brand. That was not their brand. That was not the brand, and so they have struggled to find an audience, both of them. So he gave up a big career to go into this whole different field of work, and I'm sure it's pretty scary because he's quite young still, and he is trying to get into this, you know, self-help space, you know, the Lewis Howe, whatever their names are, and that's already saturated up to the wazoo. You know, there's already some, you know, Gen Xers like me sitting in t-shirts and trainers, you know, talking about, you know, while you watch your, you know, portfolio either go up and down depending on the market that day.
Like, of course things are different, and of course it was going to be different, but I just couldn't see it. All I could hear was the voice of my critic that made me doubt that I was good on my own, and in that scared